Revenge is a dish best served at the altar. That was what Arthur, the Duke of Stirling, told himself as he slipped the heavy gold ring onto the finger of a woman he despised. She was beautiful, yes. Lady Isabella looked like a porcelain doll in her white lace, her eyes cast down in what the guests assumed was modesty. But Arthur didn't see a wife. He saw a weapon. She was the daughter of the Earl of Hellingley, the man who had swindled Arthur's father, ruined the Stirling name, and driven Arthur's mother to an early grave. Arthur had spent 10 years rebuilding his fortune for this exact moment. He had bought the Earl's debts, he had cornered the Earl's investments, and finally he had offered the Earl a choice: debtor's prison or his daughter's hand in marriage. The Earl had sold her without a second thought. "I do," Arthur said, his voice cold as steel. The ring was ostentatious, a shackle, not a gift. The wedding night was silent. Arthur didn't touch her. He simply pointed to the door of her separate chambers. "You are here to bear an heir, madam. Until then, stay out of my sight. Your father's debts are paid. Consider yourself the receipt." Isabella didn't cry. She simply curtsied, her face pale, and left. Weeks passed, and the silence in the manor grew heavy. Arthur ignored her. He hosted lavish parties where he openly flirted with other women, ensuring Isabella saw every smile, every touch. He wanted to break her spirit, just as her father had broken his family. But Isabella was confusing. She didn't complain. She didn't spend his money on silks or jewels. She spent her days in the dusty library and her nights pacing her room. One evening, Arthur returned home drunk and angry, looking for a fight. The thunder outside matched the storm in his chest. He stormed into the library and found her desk cluttered with papers. Isabella was nowhere to be seen. "Plotting with your father, no doubt," he muttered, sweeping the papers onto the floor with a crash. A small, leather-bound book fell open at his feet. A diary. Arthur knew he shouldn't read it. It was ungentlemanly, but he was past being a gentleman. He wanted proof of her treachery. He picked it up. The date on the open page was from 8 years ago. Isabella would have been 14. April 12th, 1815, the entry read. Father screamed at the Stirling boy today. Arthur. He looked so proud, even with his coat torn and his boots muddy. I wanted to run to him, to give him my handkerchief to wipe the blood from his cheek, but Father would have struck me. I hid behind the carriage and prayed for him. Please, God, let Arthur be safe. Arthur frowned, the room suddenly spinning. He flipped the pages forward, his hands trembling. December 25th, 1818. I saw Arthur at the village assembly. He did not see me. He looked so angry now, so hard. If only I could tell him that I stole Father's ledger. I know what Father did to the Stirling estate. I am saving every shilling I can find to pay him back. Love him! I have loved him since he pulled my kitten from the river, even if he hates the very sound of my name. Arthur's breath hitched. He sat down heavily in the armchair, the leather creaking in the silence. He turned to the entry from the day of their engagement. He proposed. It is a business transaction, I know. He looks at me with such hatred, it cuts deeper than Father's cane ever did. But I said yes. Not to save Father, let him rot in prison. I said yes because now I can protect Arthur. I can stop Father from selling the final piece of the Stirling land. Arthur thinks he has bought a prisoner. He does not know he has married his shield. The alcohol evaporated from Arthur's blood, leaving only a cold, sickening shame. He had spent months trying to destroy the only person who had ever truly been on his side. She wasn't her father's accomplice. She was his victim too. "Arthur!" He looked up. Isabella stood in the doorway, holding a candle. She looked terrified, eyeing the diary in his hands, bracing herself for his rage. "I can explain," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. It is just foolish girls scribbling. Please do not read it." Arthur stood up. The room felt too small for the magnitude of his regret. He looked at the woman he had vowed to humiliate. He saw the faint lines of worry on her forehead, the sadness in her eyes that he had put there. "You stole the ledger?" Arthur asked, his voice hoarse. Isabella flinched. "I returned it. I tried to fix the accounts, but I was only a child. You loved me?" Isabella went silent. She looked down at her hands. "Since I was 14. Not that it matters. I know you hate me. I know I am just a receipt." Arthur crossed the room in 2 strides. Isabella braced herself, expecting a blow. Instead, Arthur dropped to his knees. The proud Duke, who had sworn never to bow to anyone, knelt on the Persian rug before his wife. "I have been a fool," Arthur whispered, pressing his forehead against her hands. "A blind, wretched fool." "Arthur," her voice trembled. "I thought I was fighting a war," he said, looking up at her with eyes full of tears. "I didn't realize I was shooting at the only ally I had. Can you forgive me, Isabella? Not for the Duke, but for the boy who pulled your kitten from the river?" Isabella touched his hair, hesitant at first, then tenderly. "There is nothing to forgive, Arthur. I have been waiting for you to come home." Arthur stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her not as a conquest, but as a lifeline. The diary lay forgotten on the floor, its secrets finally spoken. The war was over. Now I have to ask, Arthur treated her poorly for months before he found the truth. Do you think he deserved her forgiveness so easily? Or should he have had to work harder to earn back her trust? Be honest in the comments. I want to know whose side you are on.